Hello everyone. If you love heartwarming animal stories and want to follow the inspiring journey of these adorable friends, don't forget to hit the subscribe button now so you won't miss any of our videos. Now, let's dive into today's emotional story. Nathan Cole had spent a decade building his dream from the ground up. Cole Innovations wasn't just a company, it was his legacy, a testament to his vision and relentless drive. Through sleepless nights and endless sacrifices, he had transformed it from a garage startup into one of the most promising tech firms in the city. And through it all, Marcus Reed had been by his side, his closest friend, his business partner, his brother in everything but blood. Or so he had thought. The rooftop parking lot of Cole Innovations was eerily silent, save for the storm raging around them. Rain poured in thick sheets, the city skyline flickering in and out of view with every crack of lightning. Nathan's breath was ragged, his heart pounding as he stared at the man he had trusted more than anyone. "Tell me this is a mistake," Nathan said, his voice barely cutting through the howling wind. Marcus smirked, his suit damp with rain but his confidence unshaken. "It's not a mistake, Nate. It's a business decision." Nathan's stomach twisted. "You forged my signature. You framed me. You stole everything. For what? Money? Power?" Marcus let out a low chuckle. "Oh, don't be dramatic. The board already believes I'm the only one who can take this company forward. You, on the other hand?" He shrugged, his eyes dark and pitiless. "You're a liability now." Nathan clenched his fists. "You won't get away with this." Marcus took a step closer, lowering his voice. "I already have. Your accounts are frozen, your name is tarnished, and by tomorrow morning, the world will believe you embezzled millions. No one will question your unfortunate disappearance." Nathan's blood ran cold. "Disappearance?" Marcus's smirk widened. "It's easier than you think. Accidents happen." And then he struck. With a violent shove, Marcus sent Nathan stumbling backward. His foot slipped on the rain-slicked concrete, his arms flailing as he crashed into the steel railing. For a split second, he caught Marcus's gaze, calm, detached, like a man taking out the trash. Then the world flipped upside down. Nathan plummeted over the edge. The wind tore at his clothes, the neon lights below rushing toward him. And then, impact. Agony erupted through his body as he crashed onto the hard pavement of the alleyway below. A sharp, searing pain shot through his ribs, his vision blackening at the edges. He tried to breathe, but every inhale was fire. Above him, Marcus was already gone. But someone else had seen everything. A desperate bark shattered the night. Shadow, Nathan's fiercely loyal Labrador, had been waiting for him by the building's entrance, restless from the storm. He had sensed something was wrong. The moment his master fell, the dog bolted, his powerful legs propelling him toward the emergency stairwell. His claws scraped against metal as he bounded down flight after flight, his mind locked onto only one thing. Nathan. Nathan's world was a haze of pain, darkness pulling him under. He barely felt the cold rain soaking through his clothes, nor the throbbing ache coursing through his broken ribs. But through the fog of agony, something warm and familiar pressed against him. Shadow. The Labrador let out a desperate whimper, nudging his master's face with his wet nose. He licked at the blood trickling from Nathan's forehead, his golden eyes filled with urgency. Nathan groaned, barely conscious, his fingers twitching as if trying to respond. Shadow barked a sharp, insistent sound that echoed through the alley. No response. His master was slipping away, and Shadow knew he couldn't wait any longer. The rain pelted the ground as Shadow lifted his head, scanning the dimly lit street beyond the alleyway. A distant pair of headlights flickered through the storm. Hope. Without hesitation, Shadow bolted toward the street, his paws splashing through puddles, his chest heaving with effort. As the truck neared, he lunged into the road, barking frantically. Tires screeched. The truck came to a jolting stop just inches from the soaked Labrador. Inside, Henry Wells clutched the wheel, his heart hammering. Jesus! What the hell? Martha, his wife, gasped. Henry, look at him. He's trying to tell us something. The Labrador didn't move from the road. He circled back toward the alley, barking insistently before running a few feet ahead, pausing to look back at them, begging them to follow. Henry's gut twisted. He knew desperation when he saw it. Stay here, he muttered, grabbing a flashlight and stepping out into the storm. Shadow led him into the alley, his tail stiff, his ears pinned back. The moment Henry's beam of light landed on the crumpled figure sprawled across the pavement, his breath caught in his throat. Dear God! Martha! Call an ambulance! Shadow whined, pressing his body against Nathan's side as if trying to shield him from the cold. Henry crouched, fingers searching for a pulse. It was faint, but there. You're gonna be all right, son, Henry murmured, before turning to Shadow. You did good, boy. Now let's get him out of here. Carefully, Henry lifted Nathan, his body limp and unresponsive. Shadow trotted close, never leaving his master's side as Henry carried him to the truck. Henry placed Nathan in the back seat, and as soon as the door opened, Shadow leaped in beside him, curling his warm body against his master's. Martha's voice was shaky as she spoke to the dispatcher. We have a man in critical condition, broken ribs, possible concussion. Yes, we're driving him to the hospital now. Henry pressed the gas, speeding through the rain-drenched streets, glancing in the rearview mirror every few seconds. Nathan's breathing was shallow, his face pale, but Shadow remained firm at his side, his muzzle resting on Nathan's chest. Every bump in the road sent fresh waves of pain through Nathan's body, but Shadow stayed still, a silent guardian. His warmth anchored his master to life, refusing to let him go. The truck screeched to a stop outside the hospital. Nurses and paramedics rushed forward as Henry flung open the door. We need help. He's barely breathing. Strong hands lifted Nathan onto a stretcher, voices shouting medical jargon he couldn't comprehend. But as they wheeled him inside, a bark rang out. Shadow tried to follow, but a nurse blocked his way. Sir, dogs aren't allowed in. Like hell they aren't, Henry snapped. That dog saved his life. He stays. The nurse hesitated, glancing at the soaked Labrador, his chest still heaving from exertion. Then she gave a nod. All right. But keep him out of the way. Shadow padded forward, never once leaving Nathan's side. Part 3. The Reckoning. Nathan drifted between consciousness and darkness, his body consumed by pain. The rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor pulled him back, accompanied by the sharp scent of antiseptic. He blinked against the harsh hospital lights, struggling to make sense of his surroundings. A familiar warmth pressed against his side. Shadow. The Labrador lay beside the bed, his golden eyes locked onto his master. The moment Nathan stirred, Shadow let out a soft whine and nuzzled his hand. "You stayed," Nathan whispered, his voice weak. From the corner of the room, a gruff chuckle sounded. "Damn right, he did. That dog refused to leave your side." Nathan turned his head slightly, wincing at the movement. Henry Wells stood near the window, arms crossed, a knowing look on his face. "Doctors say you took a hell of a beating," Henry continued. "Broken ribs, concussion, internal bruising, but you're alive. Thanks to that mutt of yours." Nathan exhaled, the weight of reality settling in. "Marcus. He tried to kill me. He took everything." Henry's expression darkened. "Yeah. And now the world thinks you're dead. He's taken over your company. Had a press conference yesterday, talking about honoring your legacy. The bastard's playing the grieving friend." Nathan's hands clenched into weak fists. "He won't get away with it." Shadow's ears perked up as if sensing the shift in his master's resolve. He let out a low, steady huff, his body tensing slightly. "Good," Henry said, stepping closer. "Because I've been doing some digging. And I think we've got a way to take him down." Nathan's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" Henry pulled out a small flash drive from his jacket pocket. "Your old assistant, Jenna, reached out. She suspected something was off when Marcus started changing security protocols. She managed to save some of your original files before they mysteriously disappeared from company records. This drive has everything, the proof you need." Nathan's heart pounded against his broken ribs. "If we can get this to the right people." "We don't just hand it over," Henry interrupted. "We make sure the whole damn world sees it." Nathan exhaled, his mind sharpening. He had spent years building his company, trusting the wrong man. But Marcus had underestimated him. He had underestimated Shadow, too. Nathan reached out, resting a shaky hand on the Labrador's head. "We're going home, buddy." Shadow's tail thumped against the floor, a spark of energy igniting in his golden eyes. Henry smirked. "That's more like it. Now let's get to work." Nathan wasn't just going to survive. He was going to reclaim everything. The night air was crisp as Nathan sat in the passenger seat of Henry's truck, the city lights flickering like distant stars. His body still ached, his ribs wrapped tightly, but the fire in his chest burned hotter than ever. Shadow sat at his feet, his golden eyes sharp, alert, as if he knew what was coming. Henry drove in silence, his hands gripping the wheel. "You sure about this, kid? No turning back after tonight." Nathan exhaled slowly. "I'm sure. Marcus took everything from me. It's time to take it back." The truck rolled to a stop outside Cole Innovations. Through the towering glass windows, Nathan could see the celebration inside, Marcus, surrounded by investors, toasting to his so-called success. The sight made Nathan's blood boil. Henry handed him the flash drive. "This has all the evidence Jenna recovered. Financial fraud, forged contracts, enough to put him away for good." Nathan nodded, pocketing it. "Then let's give them a show." He stepped out of the truck, Shadow following at his side, his posture tense with anticipation. As they approached the main doors, security guards stepped forward, their expressions hard. "You're not allowed in here," one said, blocking his path. Nathan smirked. "Let's see what Marcus has to say about that." The doors swung open, and the room fell silent. Marcus's face paled as his eyes locked onto Nathan, his grip tightening around his champagne glass. "Impossible," he whispered. You're dead?" Nathan finished for him. "Not quite." Gasps rippled through the crowd as whispers filled the air. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment Marcus's carefully built empire began to crumble. Nathan stepped forward, his voice steady. "You framed me. Stole my company. Tried to kill me. But you made one mistake: you didn't finish the job." Marcus forced a smile, his confidence wavering. "Nathan, let's be reasonable." "Save it," Nathan snapped, pulling the flash drive from his pocket. He turned to the nearest journalist. "This drive contains proof of everything: Marcus's embezzlement, fraud, and attempted murder." The journalist took it, his eyes wide with excitement. "We'll make sure the world sees this." Marcus's face contorted in rage. "You think you can just waltz back in here and—" Before he could finish, Shadow let out a low, guttural growl. He stepped forward, his stance unwavering, his message clear. "Enough." Marcus took a step back, his bravado crumbling. The doors burst open behind him as uniformed officers entered the room. "Marcus Reed," one of them announced. "You're under arrest." Panic flashed across Marcus's face. "This is a mistake. I built this company." Nathan watched as the officers cuffed Marcus and led him away, his protests fading into the distance. A weight lifted off Nathan's chest. He turned to Shadow, scratching behind his ears. "We did it, buddy. We're home." Shadow wagged his tail, his golden eyes reflecting the warmth of victory. Nathan wasn't just back. He had won. Lesson from the story. This story highlights the power of resilience, loyalty, and justice. Nathan faced the ultimate betrayal from someone he trusted, but instead of succumbing to despair, he fought back. His journey teaches us that even in our darkest moments, determination and the right allies can help us rise again. Shadow represents unwavering loyalty, proving that sometimes, the truest support comes from those who don't speak but act with unwavering devotion. His persistence in saving Nathan shows how love and loyalty can triumph over even the deepest treachery. The downfall of Marcus serves as a reminder that deceit and greed are never sustainable. No matter how well-crafted a lie may be, the truth will always surface. Justice may take time, but it finds its way to those who deserve it. Ultimately, this story teaches us that true strength lies not just in intelligence or power but in integrity, perseverance, and the bonds we build. When faced with betrayal and hardship, we must remember that with the right mindset and loyal companions, we can reclaim what is rightfully ours and emerge victorious.